All right, I'll call the December 16th meeting of the Floyd County Board of Supervisors to order. It is 9:02 a.m. And the first item on our agenda is approving the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that. Motion has been made by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to approve the agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. Public comment. Anyone like to make a comment on any agenda or non-agenda item? Yes,
Merlin
yeah,
Schweitzer,
of course. Merlin Schweitzer.
why the minutes from the last meeting are not up yet on the county website?
Let's see. Auditor Carr, when did we I received those on Saturday morning, I believe. I don't know, when did you get them posted?
No, they were sent to the newspaper on Saturday. You look on the website. I thought I put them up there. No, I can throw them up there.
Yeah, we've got people that like to review the minutes. It'd be hard to review and comment on without them being posted, so,
Oh, that's a nice option. It's not a requirement.
Oh.
Yeah, I must have, just didn't get them posted. I sent them out to the newspaper. I sent them with a board packet. Just didn't get them on the website, which is not a requirement for the public. It's just that they're out there on the public. The requirement is given to the newspapers within 7 days.
But doesn't the Iowa code, the minutes from the meeting are supposed to be posted immediately after the meeting?
That's how you want to interpret that. They are posted after the meeting. They're not, no, it doesn't say the website. They need to be available. Because I think it says minutes have to be on the website. They just have to be completed within 7 days.
as a matter of practice, they have been posted personally on the website prior to.
Yeah, I just had a lot of stuff
Okay.
going on with, Saturday, trying to get everything done and just didn't get them out there. But again, it's not a requirement to post them on the website.
Any further comment, during public comment? Anyone listening on the phone would like to make a comment? All right, hearing none, we'll move to item 3, which is review and action regarding the minutes of the December 9th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 9th, 2024 minutes.
And, I'll second those. Motion has been made by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to approve the minutes of the, December 9th, Board of Supervisors meeting. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Item 4, review and action regarding approval of the claims.
Add marker on the website now. Minutes are on the website now, just want to mention that. But feel free to call me if you want to know the status of things.
Yeah, well, I just figured they'd be up there.
Review and action regarding approval of claims. Everyone get a chance to review the claim?
Yeah, yep, I reviewed them. I didn't see anything that I saw was inappropriate or stood out.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we go ahead and approve the claims.
One second.
Okay, a motion has been made by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Kiefer to approve the claims. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approving the claims is approved. Item 5, updates on various boards, commissions, and activities since the last meeting.
Well, I've been busy with the mediation board group, and that's been. Then I have completed my orientation. So, awesome.
Good.
Yeah, the only thing I had was I attended the courthouse Christmas party on Friday the 13th.
Good. Was that well attended? I didn't make it.
Yeah, it's the first one I've attended, but seemed like there was a nice crowd there.
Very good. I had, some discussions with several county officials regarding the secondary road sharing, a county engineer, and we'll be updating, on this board's, we'll be meeting with the Saragordo County Board this Friday at 9 a.m. in, the Saragordo County Courthouse to discuss further that sharing arrangement. And so we are talking about an arrangement with Brandon Billings. So that will be an official item, the only item that'll be discussed at that meeting this Friday at 9 a.m. in the Saragordo County Courthouse. It's not a review and action, it's a discussion. And that was the only real item of interest that I was, working on this past week. All right, item 6, review action regarding Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center 28E agreement as amended. There needs to be some changes to the 28E. As I read through it, it was, there's been different counties that have joined at different times. Let's see. We're gonna track it here. I'm not on that, civil detention board, but I'm extremely familiar with all those changes, and that Supervisor Jorgensen was on that, there's, you probably know more about than any of this.
I don't know about that. I'm not aware of the
Okay.
current changes in front of me.
Other Carl, you, read through those?
Yeah, evidently there was changes that were made
Yeah.
to the 28E. There were two that they reported on that counties had not done, had not provided proof that they had approved the 28Es. One was in 2018, which I did provide them to Tony that our board did approve that by motion, gave them that information. The other one was in 2023. And I suppose, Jim, with it being new, you didn't know you had to come back and say, hey, there's a new 2080 amendment out there. It's nothing significant for changes. If you find the email part, it just has that, the section they reported was Article 3, membership, number 1, members and date joined. And it looks like that's the only thing that changed on that one. Yes, so it's on page. What, your packet? You guys find it in your packet yet, or? It's on page, 6 of your packet. Your agenda packet.
All right. What article was that? Some article 3 or something?
Article 3. Maybe that's not.
Just Tony Reed.
I'm not sure what, I don't know, Jim, I'm sure you maybe don't remember, but the page 7 and 8 are the, is the 2080 agreement.
Okay. All right.
So we're currently not members of that, correct, Victoria?
Yes.
I don't see our Floyd County in here, but maybe just what we're looking at.
He's listed, the one, if you're not listed in that part, that's what he's saying, that, you have not approved it, but we are in the 2080.
It states in Article 8, the membership that Floyd County joined on August 27th of 2009.
I don't know, Jim, if you looked at it, would it be, and look familiar with what might have changed?
I don't know what you got there, I guess.
You would have, if I had 3 months under your belt. Without.
What article was it?
Well, actually, it's number 3 is the, or number 8, excuse me, is the membership. But that's not what that has on it.
Oh,
I'm not sure. He just says, please note. Only these counties were members for 2023, the 2023-2080 agreement, but I think they're cut off. I think it's not all included. We are members.
I see Floyd there now, I overlooked it earlier.
We just don't have any record of approving whatever you guys changed in March of 23.
yeah, and I can comment on that. I'm sure, I was unaware that this needed to be brought back to the
Sure.
board at that time.
Yeah.
And it's been a fair amount of time, so doesn't really get my memory at this moment.
Didn't expect it to. It's a pretty short, if you wanna read it, it's
Sure.
pretty short. Don't know what might have changed, but we're just one of the counties that hasn't approved the 2023 agreement.
Says something about an initial fee. And then what our fee is.
We've never paid a fee for Central Iowa Juvenile Detention. We pay a fee when we have juveniles who are housed at Central Iowa. And I know that fee went up, but they don't, the fees aren't listed in here.
Yeah,
So it budgeted at 80,000 per year.
Yeah, but that's not anything in the 2080.
Okay,
Oh, maybe it's right here. It's highlighted right here, and alternate. The one into appointment alternate. It looks like maybe that's the only change.
what is it then?
There's a highlight. I don't know if it's showing up in the scan.
Okay, Article 9.
Well, I guess maybe they just had an alternate added. I just had an alternate appointed anyway.
Dennis was the alternate.
Yeah,
So when I know when they get my name tag, they have a table of name tags and your name tag was always there.
Yep. I attended 1 or 2 meetings on your behalf.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
so
All
I,
right, looks
my
like
guess
it's kind of a housekeeping order. We just need to approve the 2080 as amended. It really isn't significant changes to it.
I'll make a motion to approve the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center 2080 agreement as amended on 3/24/2023.
And I will second that.
All right,
Into the commission now. Yeah. Yeah.
motion has been made by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to approve the 28E agreement with Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center. Is there further discussion? Any comments, anyone listening, in the public, on person or online? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
All right,
Aye, motion is carried. Item 7. Review and action regarding extending the third reading of the amendments to Floyd County zoning ordinance 2011-2 with respect to wind energy conversion systems and battery storage systems from 45 days to a future date to allow more time for the wind energy work group to negotiate proposed amendments. Supervisor Campbell, I will yield the floor to you. How's things going? You need some more time?
Yeah,
That's the idea.
we've had two meetings and lasting about 6 hours with each one. And of course, confidentiality sets in, can't say anything other than I think I could call the negotiations intense and a lot of input from both sides. I must say that having the ability to sit across the table and discuss things is really helpful. And so I know there's talk about having Zoom meetings or whatever, but everybody in the room, I can say is that they don't like that. They much prefer to sit across the table and negotiate. And so we've had two meetings. We have a fair amount yet, I think, to go. It's really difficult to schedule times, especially now with holidays and find out when everybody's not busy and so our next meeting, I think, we wanted one in December, but nobody could find a time. And I think now we're scheduled for the 2nd of January, I believe. And so,
What day did you say?
huh?
What day?
The 2nd of January, the next meeting?
We have full slate. That's, if it's from last week's meeting. We've got employees scheduled for budget reviews.
What do we have?
January 2nd?
January 2nd is the reorganization meeting with supervisors.
On the 2nd?
Yep, I would hope, because that was on that list of, that we had at the last meeting on dates that, after the organizational meeting, you'll start budget reviews with department heads. So I've got your book till 3:30. From 9 to 3:30 that day.
Well, I guess we'll be revisiting then.
Okay,
When-
yeah, it's sure.
You know, I mean, this just shows the difficulty of this thing, but, yeah, they're going along and, so, but we're definitely needing more time. I mean, the long and short of it, it just takes a while. So,
The resolution that we have drafted extends the moratorium from, currently it stops on December 23rd. And so we didn't know what to put in there when we rewrote it. How long do you think, we can put anything we want in there?
well, now that we're not gonna be on the 2nd, if it would be delayed, I'm guessing another, I'd be guessing, but, another 45 days, just to make sure that we don't have to come back and do that again. I think would be prudent, so.
All right, that would be, what kind of date would that be?
December, February. What that? Calendar, out there for.
February 15th.
February 15th, somewhere in there. Gloria, you got a calendar?
Do you want to maybe go to something like March 3rd? That's your,
Okay,
that's a Monday board meeting day. Or February 24th.
let's go to March 3rd. Yeah.
So
I,
the first agenda item here is for continuing the third reading of the ordinance. The next agenda item is for extending the moratorium.
oh, okay,
So that might need to have a extended farther out date because there's processes after the third reading.
So you're saying if we go to, March 3rd, then, moratorium should go a little longer, 2 weeks, something like that, is that what you're saying?
And if everything passes on the third reading, then there's, publication requirements.
Oh,
Publishing the entire text of that amendment.
how much, I mean, you're the expert there on that, what do you think?
You could take it in March. Close March 31st.
March 31st,
24th.
before?
March 24th for the
Okay.
moratorium.
Okay, I guess, sounds reasonable.
So on item 7, which we're talking about now,
Yeah.
you're discussing extending well, actually conducting the third reading of the ordinance. That's what that is, assuming that then the working group will have made a recommendation to the full board. And that process would have been completed by what date in March?
March 3rd.
March 3rd?
Or for that, or for the recommendation and then holding the reading.
I would think that would probably even allow you 2 meetings. Hopefully you can reschedule the first one in sometime in January and then, you know, that seems like ample time, but I don't know what's going on. I'm sure it takes a lot of work, so.
Well.
Or unless you want to do a February date.
Pardon?
Unless you want to do it in the February date. For the hearing, third reading, not hearing, third reading.
I just know that January so far is really filling up for all of our supervisors that stayed and then,
So when rescheduled for those meetings, we've got that January 2nd date, and then we have the next 2 Mondays for all day for department head budget reviews.
yeah, I mean, it's,
Mondays, right?
yeah. Forget about budget. So, yeah, I think that would be prudent and,
So in the past, we've had those meetings for the third reading at a time when more people are available to attend, usually in the evening, oftentimes here, sometimes out at the, in the boardroom. I imagine if they do get to a third reading sometime, and that's not even guaranteed. But if that happens, it'd probably need a rather large meeting room because the third reading once again, so. This location could work, or have to schedule something somewhere else
For March 3rd.
for the third reading. The schedule here, if you want, I mean, these maps have been on the wall since for a long time. It's actually kind of a good place. This usually works. The system here usually works. Sometimes we have issues if we go to other meeting rooms, so that's just a suggestion.
well, yeah, let's try it. It's convenient.
Yeah.
Say match her up and everything, so. Let's,
6:30, you've been having those then?
Yeah, I don't, it has been at 6:30.
yeah, that allows people that are working maybe to get here,
Could it just be that you're, just like the motion before was extending 45 days, now that ends up that it's December 13th or whatever that date was. Could it just be that you're extending it, but if you're ready before that, you could have the hearing before that. That's just saying by that date. you would have your continued hearing.
Yeah, that would,
Not specify a time yet, until you get the recommendation. We didn't put a time to give a motion before then.
well, how much time? We got to have it out, published, 3 years ahead of time.
So for the meeting, it's just a 24-hour notice to the meeting. For continuing the third reading, that's just a regular.
Yeah.
Meeting time for this. It's just, if it passes, then that's just gotta follow, there's a, making it approved, approving it after publication, final publication.
And if we get done sooner, we can change, it, right? So,
So maybe the motion could be to extend it, later than the hearing, the third reading to be continued no later than March 3rd.
that seems kind of finite. I would hope that we could.
Well, I
You
didn't
know,
think of that.
everybody's texting, would like to get this done, and yeah. You know, a lot of extra work. So, there's a long, that'd be fine, let's go ahead. You know, however you.
Yeah, I realize it's not, you know, you don't know exactly when,
No,
how you'll be done, or if you'll have a recommendation.
yeah,
You know, there's some, things aren't for sure yet, so, so I suppose setting a time and date and everything is probably a little premature, but just have it, so I would suggest just have it at a date that it is out there. That's a goal, you know, it's our goal to finish this project, and so. March 3rd,
yeah.
With the intent for the work group to have,
You need a motion for that? Do that.
the original was by motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we Saturday, March 30. Third reading, right?
perhaps with a time and place to be determined later or something.
Okay.
To extend the third reading of the hearing till, of the third reading of the ordinance, amendments to the ordinance to March 3rd.
I'll second that. You make the motion, Boyd, right?
Yeah, yes, I tried.
Yeah,
All right, all right.
Does that work? If it's just
Yeah.
extending the third reading
Yeah,
of the amendments to March 3rd?
All right, a motion has been made by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Kiefer to extend the third reading of the amendments to the Floyd County zoning ordinance with respect to wind energy conversion systems and battery storage until, March 3rd at a date, at a time and place to be determined later. Discussion. Any comment from the public? First of all, you're hearing us on the owl. We've got a couple people who are interested in this that are listening, I know.
Art gave me a thumbs up earlier, so I think that we're not.
All right. Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
aye,
Motion is carried. Item 8 is then the extension of the moratorium that currently expires on December 23rd. And, in all reality, this is just no one's going to submit an application for a wind turbine now or anytime in the immediate future. This is just for the purpose of extending the moratorium that's been established. But it needs to be done. So,
extend it to the same day, March 3rd.
well, let's see, we don't have that date in the moratorium. If we were gonna have the third reading of the ordinance, which is now scheduled for tentatively for March 3rd, yeah, you couldn't have it any earlier than that. In fact, it'd probably be just a tad bit later
Okay.
for the if there's anything approved in a third reading, any ordinance, once it gets approved, like this, has to be published in the paper, before it becomes county law, so it'd probably be some date later than that. So I would think the resolution would be later than, say, a couple weeks later, at least, than the date of the March 3rd.
So that might be like,
I'll make a motion to extend the 31-24 moratorium to March 17th. Oh, wait a minute, yeah, March 17th, 2025. I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to extend, the moratorium actually to approve the resolution, 31-24, that it now includes a date of March 17th, 2025. So the moratorium would be extended through that date. And we're on passage of resolution 31-24. Is there a comment from anyone in the public or listening on the phone line? All right, hearing none, Auditor Carr, would you call the roll?
Kiefer,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Kuhn,
Aye. Resolution 31-24, extending the moratorium on utility scale wind energy systems is approved. You've got it listed as this, all the drainage material, starting with the completion hearing at 10.
the first one though is District 16.
Correct. Yeah, we can do that, All right, item 9. Review action regarding drainage district number 16, assessment for repairs. There's a work order for repairs in drainage district 16, it's in your packet. County engineer Jacob Page is here. Jacob, perhaps you could fill us in on what's been done out there?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so drainage district 16 is just north of Charles City. If you continue on Shadow when it turns the gravel road there. There were 2 main lines that had blowouts that they just repaired the tile in both of those lines. One was a 12-inch and one was a 15-inch main. So it was pretty simple fixes. Nothing abnormal. These are both kind of in the northeast part of the district. That helps it off. Oh, that map's in the other room right now. So.
Yeah.
So the balance in this fund is only $491.49. So it does require an assessment to the property owners. I would recommend that you assess nothing less than 2,000, maybe even 2,500, so there's a little fund balance in there to cover as a future, but that's up to you, whichever amount you want to assess. And for that motion to assess, just make sure you're including that any property owners, which I don't think there are any, but any property owners that would have an assessment of $500 or more would be able to waive, I would say not more than 10 years, their payments at 5% interest.
All right, I'll make a motion to assess, the property owners in drainage district 16, total $2,500. To pay for repairs, with, any owner who has $500 or more in assessment, that could pay for that over a period of 10 years at an interest rate of 5%. That is a proper motion.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kuhn, second by Campbell to, assess the property owners in drainage district 16, $2,500 to cover the cost of repairs work order and leave little balance with any property owner who has $500 or more, that spread that out over a period of 10 years at an interest rate of 5%. Further discussion?
I missed who seconded it.
Yeah.
Who seconded it?
Boyd.
Boyd, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any comments from anyone listening on the phone line? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. We'll move down to item 12, which is noting the pay increase for dispatcher following completion of required training. In your packet, we received notice from John Gore that Justin Schutler, effective the 1st of December, has completed his training and will be assigned to second and third shift. And his current wage of $25.91 an hour will be adjusted to $27.02 after his training and successful initial work experience. Comments on that? Glad we got somebody there. That was an issue we had to deal with last year, and we increased their pay to keep people there. And it's a critical position, so glad we did it. Item 13, review and action approval of the oil leak piston repair on the old elevator. I heard about this week. This is bad news. Our elevator, auditor car can tell you some more of the details, but we were fortunate at least that one of our county employees was in the elevator, went up to the 3rd floor and noticed it settled a little bit. That's not good. And, so we called, the people who take care of this service for us, and, they have a proposal that we're considering today. Auditor Carr, you've been more involved in this, than the rest of us, so fill us in on some of the details if you would, please.
Yeah, so actually the maintenance guy happened to be on site to bring some things into the custodian and he's the one that John caught the vibrating part, but the, guy did a test on it and it had settled 22 inches in over like a 3 or 4 hour span. And, my understanding is there is a hole in the piston in the elevator, so it is leaking oil. And, it, is going to require that we were lucky to catch it when it happened. He said it couldn't have been, like hours when the leaking started. They're pretty fortunate with all that. But there will be some oil in the ground, that all has to be removed. And then they have to fix this, replace the piston and, whatnot for the elevator to function. So it is totally out of commission. And they did provide me with a proposal to fix the problem. And, that has a price tag that wasn't planned, but it's $53,367.
And as I went through that agreement, it has a down payment that assures the, time that they would come here and
Right.
what's their timeline?
Right. Palmer said they're probably 2 to 3 weeks out, but they could get us on that schedule so we could get them in here. And what they do is they outsource a company that comes in and brings this, truck that they park on the grass area outside of the employee entrance. And they have this hose that they run down into the base, into the hole in the ground part and suck out all the contaminated soil, as part of the process. And they would likely be able to do that, within a few weeks, he believes. But it's dependent on their schedule, where they're at, their work. And then Schumacher would be behind replacing parts as needed. It's quite a process from what I understand to get that all cleaned out of the bottom and repaired. he had given me a heads up that he knew of a project in 2011 that was about $1,000 a foot, and we have about 40 feet of length. And, so we would have been about $40,000 in 2011 is what he estimated. But, here we are. 13 years later, and we're 53,000.
The old elevator is used quite a bit yet.
Quite a bit, yeah. And I guess I did talk to him about what if we were to decommission the elevator, since we have the new elevator? And he said there are costs for decommissioning. If we need those costs, they could get those costs, but I don't really think we want to decommission the elevator. I really do think it's best to keep it, in case, just like this, one goes down. You've got a backup for it, and it does get used quite a bit. I do think it's gonna be a great opportunity for the public. There are a lot of people that come in this new entrance and walk past where the new elevators are and go down to the old elevator, so it will kind of tempt people to start using new elevators more frequently. Or, you know, break that old habit of going to the old elevators. But if you want me to check prices for decommissioning, I can do that, but he said that there's work that has to be done on all 5 floors to do a decommissioning process. He said that's not cheap either.
I think we should repair it, so we have 2 elevators. Personally,
I would agree with that, yeah.
sometimes the old elevator is faster than the new one.
For two.
Motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to, the approval of the oil leak and piston repair on the old elevator. $53,367.
I'll second that.
All right, motion has been made by Supervisor Kiefer and seconded by Campbell to approve the contract agreement with Schumacher Elevator Company for $53,000, 53,000 and
367.
$53,367. Further discussion? Any comments from anyone listening on the phone calling line or in the public? All right, great. Need to do it. Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item 14, review and action regarding 2025 county holidays. In your packet, there was a listing of the current holiday schedule for 2024. We had some brief discussions about this at our last meeting. And there's a listing of possibilities for 2025. And you can also note the state holidays are somewhat a little different. It is an item for review and action. What are your thoughts? Last time I know we talked about the President's Day and the Martin Luther King Day. We had a little discussion about that one. You count the number of holidays there are, I think there are 11 currently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Friday after Thanksgiving, counting, voting at noon on Christmas Eve and Christmas. So there's some stars, that are put there for you to see.
I added those stars there for what I think would be a good fit for clothing, rather than doing the noon on Christmas Eve, since, the day after Christmas is a Friday. I would recommend it close that one, or if you don't consider that now, I would consider that a later time.
That's the one we talked about last meeting where likely, or in the past, anyway, the past couple of years, the state has sent us something
Correct.
closing their section of the court.
The state has closed, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, as well as a day before or a day after Christmas. But they don't do that until sometime mid-year that they do that out there.
So we have a total of 14 holidays in effect.
I
They're being
list,
considered for 2025.
I just provide information to you. There's not intent, like some counties do Juneteenth, so I put that on there. We've never done Juneteenth. I'm not suggesting that we do, I'm just putting dates out there, but the ones with the asterisks are the ones that are, other than the Friday after Christmas, those are the ones more commonly that county would do.
That actually totals 11.
Yes. Yeah. Depending how the calendar falls, there's been as low as 8 holidays that the board has approved in a year. So this one is probably more the higher end that it typically would come in at, just the way the calendar falls.
Well, it looks reasonable to me. So I'd make a motion that we go ahead and approve the way this is, you have this, 11 different, holidays. I've stated exactly right, but I guess.
Care if I list those holidays in that
Yes,
motion?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, a motion has been made by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Keeper to approve the 11 holidays listed in our packet for Floyd County for 2025. Those would be New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. holiday of January 20th, President's Day, Monday, February 17th, Memorial Day, Monday, May 26th, Independence Day, Friday, July 4th, Labor Day, Monday, September 1st, Veterans Day, Tuesday, November 11th, Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 27th, and the Friday after Thanksgiving on the 28th, Christmas on Thursday, December 25th, and on Friday after Christmas, Friday, December 26th. Further discussion, is there any comment from anyone in the public? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 15, review and action regarding nationwide and non-discriminatory investment fiduciary services.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there wasn't anything in the packet. Oh, yeah, that's another whole.
that's a whole
section, right?
separate package,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
pretty lengthy thing.
Right, that's, I'll pull it up. Go ahead.
So my understanding is that we have a fiduciary service with Freedom Pro, I believe it's what's with now, that oversees investments in our funds. That is going away. And so on the bottom of the first page are what your steps are that you can do. And you can do nothing, I'm just gonna read from that. You can do nothing. This means the service will terminate and everything else in your plan will remain in place with Nationwide if you select this option. The investments in your plan will remain the same. And here's the part that is what I think we need to address. But you will no longer have the oversight of a non-discretionary fiduciary service provider. As the plan fiduciary, you will be responsible for selecting and monitoring the investment options on your plan's investment menu. I don't think we have anyone in the county they would be able to say, this one is a good investment of a stock or anything like that compared to another. So I would propose that we do the next part, is that we take action. You can complete, sign and return the enclosed investment advisory agreement to select a service provided by Creative Planning Creative Plan. And then Creative Planning is the one who does that non-discretionary oversight of what offerings we have to our employees through their 457B plans.
So there are reasons that they give for discontinuing this. I read through and I never saw anything that,
Yeah.
I mean, other than they just don't want the responsibility of doing that.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, I just think like even in the insurance industry, how so many players are going out of the game for various, like, some commercial insurance options and things like that. And I don't know if it's just not what's happening in this industry.
And our employees, that Nationwide is the one that we use.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And, seems kind of.
We have two that the county sponsors, Nationwide and Ballot is the other one. Yeah. And, most of our employees are in Nationwide, maybe half a dozen, maybe 10 that are in Ballot. But probably have 30 some that are in Nationwide. And this is no cost to the county. This is, the county just has to sponsor a 457B plan in order for the employee to be able to make contributions on their own behalf to their own investments in the Nationwide or Ballot product. So we're just a vehicle that they get, can reduce their tax liability by investing. Just think of it like a 401K in the private sector, it's 457B in the public sector.
So to take action, we go to this creative planning, right? That's the name of this, the new fiduciary, service, is that right?
No, it still stays, it's just the company that oversees which, of
It's not
investment
Nationwide,
options.
it's another company.
Nationwide, still Nationwide, but this other company oversees what they think are the best investments for employees' options to choose from.
And who are they? I mean,
Creative Planning,
yeah, exactly. I mean, how?
works similarly to what we currently have with Freedom Pro Series.
That's Nationwide's choice, right, for a company? Nationwide chose Creative.
That's what they're offering, but again, you could, if the county doesn't want to do this, you could do it on your own, and then the county oversees which companies we should hold in the portfolio for the employees to invest in.
Well, I understand that, but, I had no idea. I never heard of this company and why Nationwide is, not going to, I mean,
I think Nationwide has been informed by this, Freedom Pro that they're not doing it anymore. And so they're saying if the county wants to offer a non-discretionary company to oversee what you want to have in the portfolio for employees to invest in, this is the option that's been brought forward.
It's Nationwide's option, that's what they're recommending, correct?
It's,
This isn't the only other company that does that, is it?
probably not, but I don't know if Nationwide has agreements with any other companies. This is all they brought to us.
I mean,
In theory, I think it's a good process to have someone besides Floyd County saying what investments should we have. in our
oh,
portfolio.
absolutely. We're not questioning
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm just questioning what makes them good over somebody else, and how are we supposed to know that?
I
Your
agree.
insurance.
That's exactly my feeling,
I
yeah.
would
Yeah,
just-
I
Nationwide is a reputable company. They're one of the highest rated, they're top rated for investments, an investment company. And I would have assumed that they've vetted this company, before putting it out there. But, and you know, I think we've all heard of Nationwide.
But our employees are protected and fully, I mean, you know, I'm just questioning, why they get out and then they recommend somebody that, I guess, you know, going forward, we can review how well they do, you know, with the investments, right? And, if it isn't satisfactory, down the line, you can always change on that.
Oh, with creative planning,
Well,
I mean,
somebody, because I mean, I've never heard of this company and, I don't know. It just went for me there.
Well, I read through that too, and it was pretty detailed, a lot of
it's
material in
really,
there.
yeah.
And, the thought that I get to come up with is why Nationwide is recommending it's creative planning, I think is the name of it. But I'm sure there's other companies that offer the same service, but I don't know who they are, quite honestly.
Right.
And, are we bound to any certain amount of time? Can we agree with them now and then change our mind later?
If you want to not do anything now, I could see if we could get Jeff to participate in the meeting next week, our representative, and he can explain.
That
Why?
would give us enough time, that we're not thrown into doing nothing,
It's,
right? When do we have to have it done by?
well, Rose, if the Freedom Pro is done December 31st. So
Okay.
if
So
you
we have
want,
another meeting next week and I'd like to hear from a representative, so I could question him, you know, a little bit. Because I know there's other, people that handle this, you know, like this. I'm
I
sure.
don't know if those companies,
And
would
cost
give you
what?
multiple options. There's no cost to the county. There's no cost to the county, never been a cost to the county. It's,
I just question why they wanna do it, or.
I don't know that it's that they want to do it. I think it's the one that's provided this way, just no longer going to do it as of December 31st.
Lucrative business, really. I mean, so I'd like to talk to the representative. I'd like to.
How about if we were to, in case Jeff is not available to participate in a meeting on Monday next week, if I get a hold of Jeff today, and if we have possibly Boyd as a representative to be on a phone call with Jeff this week before Monday's meeting? Or whoever, I don't care. which
You'd
one.
be better. I mean, you're insurance, right?
Well, a while ago, yeah.
I know.
I mean, I don't mind, I can do it too. It just seems like we don't have much of a choice. Nationwide is saying this is what she should do. And I'd like to find out if there's other companies that offer the same service.
I just wanna make sure the employees are covered
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, so how, would that be an option then, that maybe Dennis and I can do a call with Jeff before Monday's meeting? And if Jeff's available on Monday, he can talk at Monday's meeting to all of you. Otherwise, maybe it's, it could put you at ease with, Dennis and I are able to talk about this with Jeff
Sure.
prior to Monday. Again, I think that, Nationwide would have vetted any company to do this. They are top rated company. Nationwide is, I can't remember what the ranking is. They're very well rated, but, is that an option? To do
so
that?
do we table this item then on the agenda?
You could table it, do a motion to act on it at the, 23rd December 23rd meeting.
Well, I'd make that motion that we take it to the 23rd till we always talk to him. I'd like to just put my mind at ease, you know. a little
Sure.
bit.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion has been made by Supervisor Campbell, and seconded by Kiefer, to table any action regarding the nationwide non-discriminatory investment fiduciary service until the next board meeting on December 23rd. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Motion's carried. Item 16, noting the fees collected from the auditor, recorder, and sheriff for the quarter ending, September 30th. Every 3 months, we review the fees from these departments. They were listed in your packet. We don't really take action on them. Those are just fees that are collected and brought to our attention. A brief discussion of the fees from the auditor's office, auditor card.
These are just, normal fees that we collect. Passports have done extremely well. You can see that's our high number there. We sell a few plat books for $30. We don't really make anything on those plat books. Whatever we, pay, they just rounded up to $30. They're $27 or something like that is our cost to purchase them. We just have several people that like to come in and buy those from us. And so we just sell them for $30. Photocopy and fax fees, we never had very much on there. We used to be able to charge $50 per copy, but the state ombudsman's office has changed that. So now what we do is there's just a 10-cent charge per copy if it is county records that someone is asking for. But if someone is coming into the office and says, hey, would you make a copy of my document? We charge 50 cents for that. So that number never gets very big per page. The miscellaneous, I need to look up what the miscellaneous is. I think that got miscode. I think it's supposed to be elections. I need to look. I think that's some election costs that got put in miscellaneous instead of in elections. We'll get people who ask for voter registration information, and they have a time to, serving on a committee or a campaign committee or something like that. And I think that's what that 466 should go, but that's where it got coded to. So that just brought us to a total of $7,243.85 for our office for the quarter.
Thank you. The
This is-
recorder's fees are noted. Again, there's deeds, mortgages. We talked at our supervisors meeting 2 weeks ago on Friday about the change in the state law that allowed a little more of that to come back to the counties from the state. It's a start to cover some of the county's costs, and hopefully that could be expanded into some other areas. There's a cost to do business here. And when those costs go up, it seems like it's pretty easy to retain that and just pass that through the county, which is the county taxpayer. So we did talk with our legislators about that. And at least on one portion of this, they agreed. They were talking about the possibility of extending that. Also noted the sheriff's fees in here, which are pretty normal and customary. His fees for this 3-month period on a monthly basis, as you see in your packet. If you have any questions, you can contact either of those county officials, and this is something you'll see regularly for every 3 months. Any questions, comments from the board? All right. Moving back, it is, we're gonna open up the completion hearing on Drainage District 16 assessment for repairs. Typically that requires a motion and a second to open up that hearing. Is there a motion at this time to open the hearing on the completion hearing for the repairs and the Drainage District 16?
I'll make that motion as we open that hearing for District 16.
Okay.
Aren't we talking about drainage district 3?
We were talking about, no, we did that previously, remember?
Three votes.
We did 16 previously.
No,
Yes.
we did, yes, we did 16 previously.
Yeah.
We are talking about 3.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to review, the completion hearing for drainage district number 3, main open ditch repair project.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Campbell, seconded by Kiefer, to open up the hearing for the completion hearing for drainage district number 3. Okay, let's see, where are we gonna start here? We've got a lot of comments, on that. Actually, in the next item, there's a issue taking up claims for damages, what's appropriate here? We have a review of the hearing this day. Talk about that project, keep the hearing open until at the end of the next budget item.
I believe for the hearing that anyone that has any issues of the district, they could talk about their issues at this time during the hearing.
Yeah, I can speak to this too, give a rundown
Please
of the,
do.
of the
Yeah.
report here.
That's great. Why don't you come up next to
Yeah.
that? Oh, thank you, Tyler.
Perfect. Morning all, my name is Tyler Conley, professional engineer that was overseeing this project. One, I'm gonna give Gloria, these are the signed, that's for the retainage on the project. 10% of the project was held, and that retainage gets paid 30 days after the acceptance of the work. So that 10% is essentially the guarantee of contractor compliance. I've filed previously with the board as the trustees, the certificate of contract completion that certifies, section 468.101, that it is my opinion, the contract has been completed as specified. Additionally, attached to that certificate was a completion report that ran down the specifics of the project. The original contract price was $414,750.60. There were 3 change orders, one for a time extension that represented no change in cost, and 2 rectifications of quantities so that the actual constructed quantities matched what was in the contract. Those were 2 reductions, one in the amount of $45,249.20 and another for $930.21, bringing the total contract price to $368,571.19. The majority of that reductions was the less the private tile extensions into the ditch. There were less of those found to replace than were anticipated. Again, all of the contract has been paid except for the 10% retainage, the amount being $36,857.12. Additionally, attached to that completion report then is a tabulation of suggested damages. As the project went, we surveyed the damaged areas, took into account what those areas were being used for. The landowners have full beneficial use of the spoil banks. Some were cropping that ground in the form of beans, and others were CRP or buffer program grounds. We took those amounts and areas and land uses to figure out potential damages. Any additional claims for damages or any objections to those for consideration by the trustees would need to be filed in writing here today. There are also then maps attached along the facility for those areas that were damaged. There, at the time that this was filed, there were some comments from a landowner regarding, there's a curve on the project, here, let me see. That is at, I'll make sure I get it good. It is along the curve at 180th. That there's been a request for additional riprap, as well as some private tile extensions that are along that, essentially the western edge of that drainage ditch where there are buffer programs that have trees that were, required to stay for those grounds to be in compliance with the CRP contracts that they're in.
Just for reference, Tyler, that's in the packet that you
Yes.
provided, Alicia. So if you're looking at that attachment in your email, is it this second to last page that you're looking at?
Yes, yep, that, and it's at the curve, the western edge of the curve of the ditch that's on 180th. In speaking with the contractor, the foreman for the project manager for Larson contractor on the job, met with that landowner, discussed their options, has agreed to come back to install that additional riprap, just at the unit price that they bid in the project, as well as take care of the private tile extensions that are along there as well. Other than that, it's, again, my opinion that the contract has been completed to specifications and that the contractor did a very fine job on this drainage district. With that, I'd open it up for any questions from the trustees or any additional claims for damages. I know that there had been some values, amounts gained from landowners for reestablishment of buffer seedings.
Royal Inspector just brought this in today, this morning, to John.
Okay. Yeah, that, the concerns were, presented by Kirk Marth as well, with the pictures on the back.
Let's see. Okay, so item 1 on Lancer Avenue, 36-inch tile needs riprap, rock by outlet so it doesn't wash out under concrete. That additional armoring could be added by the contractor. As I said, they have already agreed to bring in riprap amounts for the armoring of a curve on near 180th. 175th Street culvert needs lowered so water will run north to south. I don't disagree with that either. That had been originally recommended as part of this project. And it was opted to take out as the secondary roads had agreed to handle that under their own construction operations. I don't believe that that has been completed or done, but that was the latest that I had heard on that. Now that this project has been completed, I could certainly coordinate with the secondary roads department to remind them of their commitment to lowering that culvert. The culverts,
On that point, let's get, the county engineer here to confirm that. He's not here in the room. Hey Jacob, you listening up there? Could you come on down? We're talking about, an agreement that we're referring to that, you made a commitment on. We just want to get that confirmed before we go any farther. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get back to that. part.
Yes, item 3, the railroad track south of Wolf's west side is not cleaned. That is, also true. It certainly needs to be completed. The trustees have submitted to, I believe, both the Canadian Pacific, Main Maintenance Office as well as the local branch letters, essentially demand letters that be taken care of. That was the recommendation I made on that yes.
That is on Wolf's side. That is not on the railroad track. If you look at the map, the picture that I sent you, you can see that.
You're
Sticking out was not cleaned on Wolf's side. None of this dirt was moved on Wolf's side at all.
And that was avoided because of the riparian CRP that requires that those trees stay.
There's plenty of room up there if you look at the map picture for them to get up there to clean that.
That was a request by the landowners and noted on the plans as far as not disturbing that.
Well, then how are you gonna call the ditch complete then if all that dirt's sticking out there? The water's not gonna flow like it should.
That it's cleaned the best that it could be from the one side without disturbing those standing buffers.
Well, I wouldn't call that a buffer because it's just flat up there. There's nothing but ragweeds on top of that on Wolf's side.
On Wolf's side, it's the buffer grasses and trees that are standing there.
But if you look at the picture, there's plenty of room to get up there with an excavator to clean it.
That both from the landowner there that's made
They just didn't want you to go through the driveway.
or the desire to not,
They could go around it and get in there.
Get a bigger excavator than you police.
there had been a request from the landowner to investigate the ability to do that. Upon review by the landowner and the contractor, they requested that not be disturbed per the original plan. And the contractor's opinion was that they did not have the room to track and swing the excavator and get rid of the amount of dirt they would need to along that side. I don't like that it's penned in either. Believe me, I don't. But
He originally said he did not want them on that side. I just found out the other day, we actually own half of the drainage ditch back. They checked their survey when Lee had put up that house, so we actually own the chunk going out to the field halfway. He would not allow them at the beginning.
But there's plenty of room if you drive on the field on the west side, clear to north along the railroad track and stay on Wolf's property, not on the railroad track. There's room in there between the trees to get back there to clean that out.
And if the trustees want to see additional things done there, we're going to have to take steps as far as the authority to have that CRP buffer in there.
Is it CRP all the way to the ditch or?
There are pockets that are allowing for smaller instruments to track through there. But as far as a long reach excavator through there with the line of trees as close as they are, it would be very difficult. One, to be able to do the work, and two, to be able to level that spoil out to an acceptable depth without having it piled in essentially berms along the ditch.
Well, my question is, and I walked down there and looked at it, and maybe somebody else knows, I mean, is the CRP, is that in long-term trees? Or was that just planted that way, or, you know?
As it was,
Quite honestly, it's a mess, and, something, should have been done. I don't know, does, Mr. Wolf have the right, not to have us do that? I mean, should that have been something that we could have known as we're going along?
Well, it was,
Or,
it was brought up at the hearings and then, maps were brought to me and incorporated onto the plans and specifications. And essentially, these are the areas that were brought to my attention, that they are, not only are they buffer ground, not only are they grass, but the program that they're in is to have those trees present and remaining. The question was if we could get work done around them while still keeping them in compliance.
But you say it's in CRP, but up there, it's nothing but giant ragweed. There's no grass there at all. So tell me it's not in the CRP or whatever, it's all giant rag. So how is the district gonna keep their ditch clean where there's nothing but giant rags on top of that, and they're just gonna fall down into the ditch and go. And we have to keep it sprayed, so how are you gonna do that?
And that's becomes difficult with programs like this along the ditch.
can you tell me? What I'm looking at here. Is this the middle of the ditch?
So the numbers along there, that is the center line alignment, yes.
Okay.
That is where the dash lines out on either side are where the right of way amounts are to approximately. So where
And how
the,
far, and
that would be, I believe that's 50 feet each side
on each side?
of center line. And so, you can see these are very, very close
This encroaches.
or encroaches onto what those right of ways are.
Well, after looking at it myself, there's an awful lot of trees and brush, that, maybe you can't get an excavator down through there, cause you'd have to work as you went. That's difficult, but,
I don't agree, or I don't disagree that, when compared to the rest of the facility, it certainly sticks out because it's been,
it's an understatement.
nothing has been done along there
Right.
compared to the rest of the facility. What we attempted to do was to do the best we could while not encroaching on or disturbing those areas.
There's no evergreens back there.
We're talking about that big knob that sticks out right south of the
There's
road.
no evergreens back there.
That needs to be gone.
There is room to come on the neighbor's ground to get around there and come back in there to clean that up. There is no evergreens back there.
Okay, then that, instead of, if we're not talking about trying to remove that whole,
No, but it should be,
Base.
but if we get that piece cleaned out next to the railroad track, which is on both sides, they can clean that out and that'll open that ditch up.
that's a different story. That could be more easily accomplished. And I'll see to it that it does get accomplished, as long as we're not encroaching on the railroads right of way.
It's not on the railroad side, it's on both sides.
Okay,
Okay?
perfect. That, we will get that addressed when the contractor revisits the site.
So we're talking about item number 3 on the concerns that were listed to us by Reverend Schweitzer and Kirk Marth. Is that
Yeah, I feel, yes, I feel we've addressed to that.
all right?
We wanna talk item 2, the
Yeah.
175th.
Yeah, we got Jacob here. So Jacob, been saying that the county is committed to taking care of that culvert on 175th Street. It needs to be lowered to, we talked about that previously.
Yeah, are those are they like 6 footer? They're big, right?
It's,
Is it a single or is it a
I
twin?
thought it was a single arch
Oh, okay.
right now.
I remember there being a set of twins, I thought that we needed.
Oh, there are twins. Yep, I've got them.
Are they 6, they're big ones, they're 6 foot, something like that.
Just right there.
Yeah, 96 inches, so what is? Yeah, 7, yeah, 7 cars. Yeah, they're big ones, yeah, we need to do that, I guess I was waiting till the project was completed to do that, is that kind of, I think that's.
That's
what we had discussed.
fair, right, that's fair, and as far as I'm concerned, where we are.
Okay.
So,
Yep,
it would be best to get those replaced and lowered
yeah,
as soon as possible.
I think we're gonna plan on still use them, I think we're just gonna move them out and then lower the elevation to match.
Yeah, if they're not in bad shape,
Yeah,
ultimately, the district doesn't mind what the culverts are, as long as they're of a suitable size, which they are, and they're at grade.
the flow line.
Right. So that's, my recommendation there, and it seems like that's been or being addressed.
Yep, that's the plan, so. We will get that accomplished.
Okay, item 5, Ocean Avenue berms not on ditch, they've been leveled off all smooth. There, I did review down there, there aren't any berms there, essentially with the lay of the land, everything is flowing to the ditch. With the amount of spoil that came out of there and the intent to level the spoils to less than 6 inches, the intent was never to reconstruct berms that should or shouldn't have been there. Typically, when these were constructed, there were berms left. In areas where there were berms, there's not been a substantial change to that, but I don't think that the intent of this project was ever to make significant changes in that respect.
Is that what we're talking about, this picture here?
That's at no, that's,
Something different?
yeah, that's I think that was a photo submitted by Brian, one of the pipe extensions.
No.
Gloria. This is talking about at the very lower end, how there isn't a pronounced berm that keeps water from entering the ditch.
The lower end of our district
Next to ocean, down on the bottom, there's no berms.
for
I don't. Typical design practice of these, when they were originally constructed, again, was to have a berm along the sides. So that you directed water only to enter in where the district desired that water to enter. For whatever reason, that lower area does not have them, and it wasn't an objective of this project to reestablish them so much as it was to get the district facility back to grade and grade everything out so that it was in similar conditions to before, as far as elevations.
So is that a potential for a lot of erosion, that how many acres are behind there that are pushing water down to that? I mean, and we're gonna run water right into the ditch from there. I mean,
I don't see it as any more impactful than or any more at risk than the ditch had ever been in. The ground down there is generally higher around, so it's. In my mind, I see why they did it, because you would have, with the elevation, the relief that you had, I think you would have really been putting up a bit of a wall that water was gonna hit and actively work against.
in your estimation, then does that need riprap?
I don't think so. And the only reason I say that is because it would be a significant amount of riprap to try to armor those sides for that length. Now, this is probably something that will want to be monitored. And additional work could be done in the event that we are seeing seeing issues. But at the lower end, if you wanted to either rip wrap or re-berm that portion, it would be a quarter mile or more, both sides to get that.
So that, and I'm not, so before you did work, there was a lot of trees there, then, right? That was breaking out, I mean, and then you reshaped it, so I just,
There were sporadic trees on the lower end, and that probably also contributes to why there were no berms. Is it in a better condition now than it was? Absolutely. And item 6, buffer strip should be paid by landowners, not by ED3, because where it needs to be seeded, there were trees there before. So land should pay to seed it because they are getting money from the government to have it seeded. Ultimately, for the damages and the consideration of such, I defer those decisions to the trustees. I make recommendations for the damaged areas. The code states that damage done outside of the right of way shall be considered. It doesn't make the claim that damages inside the right of way can't be considered. We have submitted on this all the areas that were damaged, whether it was inside the right of way or not. There is probably a pretty decent argument there regarding the areas that were treed. Those, we have not considered a damage for those trees, only for the reestablishment of any sort of grasses. Landowners along the ditch, don't often have control about when these projects are done, but they, as the code states, they do have the full beneficial use of those spoil banks. So it's been my recommendation on projects similar to this, that those damages at least be considered by the trustees for compensation by the district. And then I defer to the trustees on their judgment on if they feel that that is appropriate to compensate or not. There are some areas that if it was deemed not to be compensated inside the right of way, there are still some damages that exist on outside of that right of way. It's not significant when compared to the rest of it. It's mostly access roads that have been run down or damaged to get to the facility. But that is not the majority of those damages. Oh, perfect. Okay, I didn't know if those were that.
You got item 4.
Uh, 180th. 3 projectiles in open ditch still there. I'm not sure that
What are you?
Along 180, if they left some dirt out, so the water's gotta come this, like this, before it runs back in.
those, the serpentines along 180th. There was armor put along the riprap armoring put along the roadside and the roadside ditch to protect that without significantly widening that channel. It's very difficult when a ditch gets that severely serpentined to get it back to its original conditions. To get a repair work done without needing additional permitting, the general rule of thumb is that you're not changing from the original, cross-sectional area of a channel by more than 10%. So to take those large protrusions, those serpentine bends out, really starts to raise suspicions from the DNR and the Corps of Engineers. And in order to stay under that 10%, we would have to pack those areas, the reverse of that serpentine, back in with material. And frankly, I've never seen that go well. I've only ever seen those be washed back out in even the smallest of rain events. It's not, there's no great way to pack that firm enough that it ever stays. So it's a bit unfortunate that the facility was as gone in those locations as it was. And we've done the best we can to bring them back to par. But without substantially more work, and without, even then with the failure rate of potentially doing something there, that's why those areas were left the way that they were.
But having them there makes the water zigzag by the county ditch, and you go that out.
It does force the water against those curves, I agree, and that's why we've put riprap along those curves to armor and help slow that. And that at this point is my best recommendation and solution for the serpentining of that area. If we pulled those protrusions much further back, we're going to wind up with a very, very wide channel at that point that then the water has to speed back up.
They aren't out that far. But
Oh,
it's not a
they're-
straight shot, they just zing it. There's
Oh,
two on the south and one on the.
I mean, they're 10 or more feet worth of serpentine in that.
There'd be 10 feet to clean out.
I mean, my estimate, I looked at them, I looked at those serpentines just yesterday. Out on site, so it's not the worst serpentining on a ditch I've ever seen, but there are some significant zigzags in there.
I know this could get worse, being they're in there.
And that's why we've armored the far side, and this will need monitoring. Like everything on this facility, what we're doing here is not the last thing that will ever need to be done. Everybody is now aware of the facility that they have and they share and they own. And we'll need to keep eyes on that. But what I don't want to do is make significant changes to that cross-sectional area. And then I certainly don't want to put anything back into the facility that will just wash out and fill back in a ditch we just cleaned.
Yeah,
I got a question, okay, on 180th where it makes that corner. You know, there never used to be a high berm because the trees were there, that was all flush, so the water would proceed on out. It needs like a culvert to take the excess that runs all the way from the railroad tracks along there, you know, kind of somewhere in that corner. It needs tile out like they did farther down where the tile was too.
You're talking on the west side by 180th.
Yeah, clear right at the corner where it goes north to south, it starts going back to the east.
Yes, and that's, we can consider that. That's one of the areas that Larson's coming back to armor with riprap at that corner. And,
Well, then there also is on the other side of the railroad tracks, the west side. I said something when they were there doing they did put extensions on 3 of the tile lines. It was either 4 or 5, there was one other one, and I said something to the guy that day, I said, well, there's a flag, there's at least one more down that way, and it might be 2. And you couldn't ever find it again.
okay,
There was a flag there, and there's another tile outlet for sure, there might even been 2 on that. And then I noticed on the other side of the railroad tracks, there is a couple broken tiles. I don't know if along the railroad tracks, the south side of the railroad tracks, if there could have actually been a line that went to the drainage ditch, you know, off the railroad tracks, cause I did see there's a couple chunks of tile, but you know, when they pull that dirt out of the ditch, they pull the dirt right up the side of the bank and it just shoves the dirt right through them tile, you know? And, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of like that south bank along 180th. There was never no bank like that ever. Now it's like, you know, they took all the dirt and put it on the north side of the bank, you know, I mean, it's actually, I mean, it's beautiful for floods, just as long as the water don't build up out in the field around that corner area, you know.
yeah. As far as, and I'll have them, they're gonna be out there, the reason they haven't been out there is that they wanna limit their trips back
Yeah.
to just the one, right? So we get all the information here today of the additional stuff to look at, then they go back out, they take care of all of this last stuff, and we're done for now, right? I will certainly have them look in those areas. I've just made marks on my completion report for that. Whether we got all of the tile extensions or not, only time really tells.
Well, see, the reason I found them, because they dug earlier and I could see these wet spots.
And
And
that's
I
how,
spent a half a day with a shovel finding these and I put flags up there. Well, they got 3, but I think there was 5. There's at least 4, I know.
okay, and that's how we find the ones that we don't find, right? Is
Yeah.
those wet spots as just time progresses, we get in there, we fix them. We carry on, and that's, nothing we do here today changes that those are liable to get fixed, right? Closing out of the contract doesn't say, okay, well, nobody's ever responsible, you know, that's still something that gets, added to the list of things to get done.
My biggest concern is that corner where it turns back, you know, it's like water used to always come along there, but you know, we got nice big banks that's protecting the field, but it ain't gonna be able to get out only 2/3 of the way to the east where there is one. And I said something when they were there that, and he said he'd mention it or whatever to him, never heard anything back, you know?
Okay, well, we'll examine it.
Can I, does that need an intake? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of like an intake to be able to get it out, I mean.
They're surface drains is what we call them. They go through the bank, allow for water from one side of the berm into the facility through a controlled manner.
All they're doing is use the
Well,
culvert.
they're typically,
Intakes, I mean, when you have the,
we typically put aprons on the ends and they're corrugated metal pipes that go through. It doesn't actually drop down into an intake and in. It rests along the low point in that berm on the ditch and takes water in. There's a number of them along the ditch facility. We replaced some that were in bad shape. There's items, we have bid amounts and items in the plans for these. So they're very routinely installed or at least considered.
that satisfy that?
Yeah, I mean, that's my biggest concern is that corner one, that other tile one, it ain't that big of a field, but yet there is another tile outlet maybe too, but.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my concern is, I got the property up by the blacktop, in 38. can you extend that ditch to the blacktop? It stops at the fence line, but the tapered slope to it starts your ditch. You go down there and stand, there's a culvert under the blacktop. Or two culverts, forget.
Right, it's twins under
Once that ditch gets half full of water, just stand there looking at it, it's gonna be coming around both sides of the ditch. You know way you ever gonna get that ditch full.
My concern with that is I don't wanna do anything that blocks off the road ditches that feed into the ditch there. The reason the banks stop where they do is because we have to allow the blacktop ditches to drain into that ditch. We can't hardly,
Cause you see what I'm saying,
uh,
it's gonna come underneath through the culvert. And if the ditch is half full, it's gonna go both directions around the outside.
I agree that it is lower in that area, but it's lower because of those road ditches. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna back up into those road ditches before it comes out into the field. I do agree, if you ever got water,
There's too much fall there, it's all gonna go right down toward the ditch.
okay, well then it's contained back in the ditch. I agree that if ever there's a rainstorm large enough to put water over that road,
I've seen water over the road.
there
That's not.
you're gonna have water potentially out into those fields for a bit of time. But what none of this drainage district, the ditch better than any of the tile lines, but nothing is really disaster proof.
I know, there's a 3 foot from the top of the culvert to the blacktop. And all that water's gonna be out in the fields,
And
and the ditch is gonna be half full.
would. I don't think that's an accurate representation, but again, we're a little limited in what we can do near the head wall without damming off those road ditches.
Was there a way you could put a culvert in there?
Well, you could, but then those culverts act just as a,
To the top of the culvert, have a culvert.
and that would be the responsibility of the
County.
secondary road, whoever owns the
DOT.
right of way, the DOT.
Yeah.
So that would be the management, the maintenance of the drainage infrastructure perpendicular to the drainage ditch in right of ways is the responsibility of the entity that owns those right of ways.
Yeah, sorry, it is T38 through there. Yeah, that'd be something that the secondary roads would have to do.
So that,
Is there a way we can come around, kind of follow the fence line with 4 or 5 feet rise?
that would be
Without
in.
getting too far out. the
Well,
field?
that'd be discussions with the entity that was gonna do that. As far as the drainage district's concerned, as long as the ditch isn't impeded in how it flows, what's done there is just fine with us.
Well, I just want to keep the water where it's supposed to be.
Understood. There's similar, just while I'm on that thought, there is a culvert that is along March. It's at the March Avenue and 180th that has a very deteriorated head wall. It's what is serving as the surface outlet to the, what I'll call a triangular piece of ground there. That has a head wall that's in pretty bad shape. There's, the wing walls have fallen off of it. I believe its bottom has cracked away from the face. And it looks like at about any time that could.
And where's that at?
That is right. So on
180th, there's this turn to merge with March. That cement wall is already laying down in the bottom. It was yesterday. It's right there.
Yeah, there is part of it that's already off, and so though it's not the district's responsibility to get that replaced, it would be my recommendation to get it replaced.
Was it on T38, did you say, or on,
This one's in March and 180.
on March and underneath?
Right at the corner, there's a bridge there too, it's right off.
Yep.
You know, kind of like that triangle patch, there's a curve.
It's a half mile north from where I live.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you will be coming back to do the private drain west of Noble and the south side of the main too. And then there's a field drain that's not installed also. And then also on the north side of the berm, we started to have what I call, used to call armored drain, field drain. I sent a picture in. They could use some more riprap.
Okay.
When the fabric goes down there, then you see all the black fabric that doesn't have any riprap.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if that riprap should have been at the same grade as the ditch versus putting the fabric over the bank, then putting another riprap on top of that, which sort of makes a small little dam versus trying to make the riprap at the same elevation of the ditch bank. I don't know. I know I left some stuff Thursday at the auditor's office with pictures, but
I sent an email to you today if you wanna see this. I've
Oh.
got everybody's documents too.
Okay, yeah, I can take a look at this, and, yeah, all of this can get, is this two different ones?
From
Okay.
him.
Okay, perfect. All of this, of course, can get,
that's a separate item.
oh, okay, yep. The animal guards certainly come back and get those installed.
There's plenty of raccoon tracks in the bottom.
You gonna put animal guards in all the tile
We reinstall them on those that had them. So I have
It's very little expense to put them on every one of them.
room? That's correct.
I've got prices in there too, if you wanna know.
okay, if that's something the trustees are agreeable to, we can have the contractor put an animal guard on every single one of them.
Should have been on there. Quite honestly, but yeah.
I don't just,
It's something that's, in my estimation, needs to be done, one way or the other. Pretty important. Yeah, you don't wanna screw up the tile.
Is it same way with that 30-inch tile under Lancer? Same way with a 36-inch tile under Lancer? That should be put in on a hinge, so if there's a lot of water comes through, they can open up, close. I don't know.
That's a good idea. But you mean a hinge to the outside, so high water would catch it? I prefer the animal guards inside. They don't hinge out, you know, when that ditch gets full. Eventually, there will be debris going down there, and if they're protected by the metal pipe, most of them they have are inside.
they'll be the ones that are inside. I believe that the question that was just asked was about a flap gate, essentially, that, instead of the bars that protect from the animal guards, it would be something that would flap closed and prevent water from, in high events, from pushing out into the fields. And that, I believe, was a question about a tile along Lancer, so that again, I think is the secondary roads consideration, but yes, consider all of these heard and to be addressed.
Is that the 36-inch tile, is that road?
That's under Lancer.
Lancer, is that our responsibility?
Yeah, it's under Lancer. Yeah, yep. I don't know if we have anything like that on any, I'm not familiar with having those on any of the tiles we have under the road, any paved roads, but I don't know if you've seen those before. Have a flat gate on any of those?
Something could be made or something. I don't know idea. Maybe it needs to be put in the inside, but it should be something put on.
I've seen them, it's a hinge at the top of the pipe and it's basically just a piece of sheet metal that when water's flowing from one way,
It doesn't allow it to backflow.
right, it allows it out, and then once water gets over a certain height, it shuts that and it can't push back up,
Okay.
back up and out into the field.
You know.
So with that, we do have a decent list of things to get looked at. Larson has agreed to come back for these items, for the list. They are all, in my opinion, they're all, it's nothing that was due to their workmanship, it's all just things that would get paid at the unit price that they have in the contract, they're all due for compensation for that. And because they're extras, I don't see a reason why it couldn't be considered for acceptance of the work with the understanding that the contractor would be returning to complete these extra items.
You would do that through a change order process?
Essentially, it would be an invoice from the contractor at those unit prices to the district.
Basically complete the contract and then this would be additional work outside of the contract, right?
Right,
At
but the
same- at the same
contractor,
rate.
but the contractors agreed to do it at the unit prices on their contract. That, I've had all the conversations with Larson about that. They are fully anticipating this.
But it seems to me, okay, the big element is on wolves, those trees. I mean, that you consider additional work or work that, should have been done anyway, or, you know, brought to our attention, that something should have been done then.
Were that side to have additional work done on it with the information that's in the plans and the items as they are, I would consider that, as I believe Larson would, additional work. For the, not the pulling of the spoil by the railroad tracks,
Right.
but if we were to clean on that side of the ditch, I would consider that additional work above what the contract laid out.
So somebody dropped the ball.
Well, I don't like to come into these and point fingers at anybody. But having those contracts along drainage district facilities causes problems. And the ditch is a facility, it's a utility owned by those that are benefited by it. It has a job, it has to be able to be maintained. And in this instance, from the one side, it has been made very difficult to maintain. If this had existed on both sides, in essence, it couldn't have been allowed to be that way, because we wouldn't have had access to the facility. Now, a landowner entering into one of those programs without knowing that they're in a drainage district, it's really hard for me to blame a landowner too much for that. And additional things,
But an easement is an easement. I mean,
and that's fair, that I agree completely with that. Again, I don't like, to Merlin's point, I don't like that our hands are a little cuffed in that area either. I put down into the plans and specs, and we did what we could to kind of strike a middle ground there. And what has been done out there is the results of that, but
but
but it is, I agree, it is a bit of a compromise.
I mean, we're gonna, one way or the other, it seems like. It's gotta be clean, I mean, somewhat, it's a mess, you know, I mean,
Are you talking just about the berm that sticks out, or are you talking about the whole ditch?
well, no, I'm talking about that on Wolf's side. there.
Just that berm that sticks down in the ditch.
Well, on this side with all the trees, you know, I mean, the idea was to do away so beaver wouldn't, you know.
That's correct.
Continue to damage and all that,
The north-south ditch is cleaned out. They took all the dirt and put it in our field because he wasn't gonna allow them to have access to his side. He was here at the beginning, first meeting. He said the trees, he wouldn't allow it. So all that dirt come clear over on our ridge, which is a better bank to keep the water in. But he's got berm spots now that he'll get flooded out, you know?
I didn't know we could disallow something along there, you know, the ditch. I mean, I'm up on the upper end, I don't have any trees, but just tile, and I gotta pay for this thing, but, so. I didn't understand how he had any, I mean, you know, I'm just, I'm not aware, but I'm, you know.
It's a tough situation, the drainage district right of ways aren't recorded easements, they may show up as areas on property records, but very seldomly do they actually show up as a drawn boundary. There's additional, areas of concern along there. One with the ponds that are there, they're a bit further back, but as far as the area needed to level out and get those spoils managed, it would be difficult. There's a private well that is back in that area that has been noted on the plans for avoidance. There's, another issue that will be addressed that's not part of this, but there's a district facility that's coming in through that area that is blown out outside of the right of way. There's an open air damage that's also been noted. That wasn't part of this project, but it's noted so that the contractor stays well away from it, so we don't increase the amount of damage by tracking equipment over it. So there's a
When you say that, there's a blown tile?
There's a drainage district facility that's coming through there that because of its age has broken and is exposed to the
And
surface.
it's on their property, but it's,
But that's because of all the trees they got planted in there and killed the tile. Well, the county, or the district spent a lot of money to put up something that comes in, raises up, and then the tile comes out there. And it went down and it's supposed to dump into the drainage ditch. But since they planted all them trees in there, they plugged up the tile and got the tile all over the field.
Is that on one of the drainage 3 laterals or?
Then by rights, on a county tile, there's not supposed to be any tree next to a county tile for 50 feet. So no, let's get in.
that's going your government trees now.
That we're talking over trees now, yeah, see, so you fight with them and figure that out, so.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of money spent on that tile to get it put in.
We've got to drain somebody that affects people in that area, you know.
It's lateral 9.
But it bubbles up on top now and just runs on Wolf's,
It
it
runs down. I would think everybody would want it repaired. That's something, you know. So you're saying you want us to, approve everything? And yet,
Accept the work on the project. is what they want.
work on the project, yeah, to pay them the last 10%, right? That's the,
So can we just make sure we've got everything, because there's lots of people in here who I forwarded information on you and it's in your guys' packets, and just make sure that all the issues are covered.
There's one issue I heard discussed, but the board, the trustees didn't, make a decision on it, and that was the buffer strip should be paid by landowners, not by the drain DD3. We had a little discussion on that, but we didn't talk about that up here.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I filed a request for some cost share to reseed the outside bank. And I'd like trustees to consider that. I have a bid submitted from H&R Lawn Care for that. It's gonna be just two grass. And that's not part of CRP or anything, but it's since during all the construction, the grass that was there is long gone.
so that's up to the 50-foot back from the ditch, right?
Well, that's from the top of the bank out to the field.
To your field.
Yeah, it varies in width.
So that's in your packet that says new, drain DD3, new. That's, but if we could go over, that's page 10, of those 9 pages ahead of that. Or, I don't know if you wanna maybe use some sort of order, or that goes back and forth, or.
yeah, that'd be a good idea.
So if we just go to, the first page is just the notice. Okay. So Erwin Johnson is one, it's not Erwin.
I'm here.
Yeah, here you are. So I had emailed you from the conversation with Erwin Thursday or Friday, I don't remember when it was, Friday, I think maybe, about just to make sure we're covered with the, animal guards. There's some missing animal guards on Irwin's. I had put that, missing some animal guards from some outlets on David's property, unless Larson has installed them since he noticed about 3 weeks ago. Told them that, I told him I didn't think Larson's had done any work in the last 3 weeks, but would check with you. So on his question about that, your response was, sorry, my mouse isn't working. You would respond that animal guards would have only been installed on tile outlets that had them previously. I would double check the tile extension logs that were kept for this project and have them available Monday. So I know we talked about animal guards a little bit, but I just wanna make sure wherever Erwin's talking about.
And it sounds like there's a decent amount of support for the installation of an animal guard on every tile extension that's out there. So that would, anyone that wasn't previously covered would now, under that, would have.
So that's something the board would wanna consider after you close the hearing. Is,
Right.
So
Item one,
Dave,
next.
Dave got it.
Yes,
So back to the animal guards, is that something that can be done now while you're able to be in the bottom of that ditch? I
Yes,
would be very
yeah.
surprised if there's any other time after the spring, that there'd be too much water in there to even be safe.
Larson wants to, I am planning on calling them on my travels back to
Could be a
get
county
this.
employee do that or not?
Well, they, whoever is available to do it could
Well,
do it.
I can do that, but what about my liability or the county's liability if I go down there as a private person and do something? Is that?
Well, I think we're talking about having animal guards throughout the district, so it wouldn't be just your property or property you have, that all of them will be done by either Larson or the county.
Yeah.
That, trustee, is that what you're saying? We want them on all outlets?
That's right.
Well, in the district we just cleaned out, we have.
Right.
So in the open. meeting area,
This is a
part of
safe
this
time to do
project
it.
is what we're talking about.
Everyone wants to go down there and vote. Well, we try to do it.
Okay, so that's an issue we resolved.
But if you've got secondary roads here, is there anything they wanna hassle, or should Tyler go to?
I would think it would make sense to have Larson do it when they come to basically do the rest of their list, but, yeah, I think that's up to the board of trustees, but I think it would make sense, if they're already gonna be here, just have them do the work.
That makes the most sense to me as well. Larson wants to get this punch list stuff done and be done for the year, actually. I don't see it being any sort of waves.
Okay, so that meets the time limits that you're talking about. All right, next issue.
Okay, there's crop damages, Tom Ramford is the next one, he's got crop damages receiving field cultivation and debris removal. This I just would, you've got several of these, like from Murray's, from, Sports Box, from Bledsoe. There's others in their field. There's some differences in those costs, per acre. Actually, I want to talk about, let's do the first one, the crop damage side of it. Because I think your completion page talks about, crop damages, there's some of that on here on your completion report.
Yes, the areas that were surveyed and damaged as beans, the estimate for that was submitted as part of the engineer's completion report, estimated 60 bushels per acre at $10.50 per bushel. So that value per acre then was $630 per acre of complete bean loss.
Yeah, I saw. Merlin, want to comment?
Yes, no, if you look at the map that he gives us,
Yeah.
the map that he showed us on there, most of the crop damage, there's trees there originally. So the trees got taken out early, so they planted it. Now they want crop damage. So the trees were all taken out early, then they went in and planted it. Then they went back in to finish it, and they drove over, well, the trees were already there. So why should we pay crop damage on the trees were at? Same way with the buffer system, there was trees there, so why should we pay for that where the trees are at?
No, our trees we took out, most of them were in the bank.
Well, in some places, yes, but some places would not, because you can see on the map, there's trees out, and so.
Did you understand the question?
I do. Regarding the bean damage, it's far in the minority. And when I examine the maps, I'm seeing it's the area that is outside of what was treated. That's primarily most of the bean damage was on the Ramker property.
And they had their trees already taken out, right?
Primarily,
Okay, that's a lot of the difference here.
right.
Okay.
And then the rest of the buffer, there is certainly, a discussion of if it's warranted for the district to pay where there had been trees previously.
So, where there were trees previously. And then they were taken out and beans planted.
That
What we're saying, or?
I don't think happened much, if at all.
But this was beans that were planted.
Right, in it is, if you look on, again, on the Ramper property, there are beans that are shown as damaged. But we also have denoted the yellow area on the Ramper property that would have been either buffer or the tree damage. So there's no, certainly in those areas, there's no overlap of the beans and tree damage. There's a distinction made between one and the other.
Right, yeah.
The same with the Newman property, for instance, there is a bit of bean damage, but then there's also the consideration for buffer.
We don't even have anything listed for being damage on mine, because I was just tickled they got done and stuff.
It is
I
in
mean,
his,
I only lost 2 or 3.
it is in his completion report. It's 0.93 acres, a total of $583.90.
I never reported it.
No, that's what he's saying. That's what the contractor. estimated.
That's what I've recommended for consideration. Landowners can make objections or request alterations to this. But when it comes to similar projects and the areas that were damaged, that's what I have recommended. The trustees can make, they're the final say on all of that. I am letting them know the areas that were damaged and what it was.
So just on the beans only, if there's Nauman's, and then there's, you got a recommendation for Rampers of $1,310.40. You've got more acres, 2.08 acres. When Tom was in Friday, he's got 1.5 acres. Your total is 1,310 based on that 60 bushel per acre at 10.50 per acre. He's got 1,500 for 1.5 acres, which I don't know what that equates to, but more than $60 or more than 60 bushel per acre and more than $10.50 per bushel. So you've got Tom's request that's on that new file, and you've got Tyler's recommendation. Dollar-wise, they're off $200 less than what Tom has, but your acres are discrepancy are different as well. You've got 2.08, you've got 1.5 acres, I'm hearing the round in it.
We had better than 60 bushel beans there. This year.
Yeah. And then the other ones for beans is, Rockland Enterprise, so Steve Swartrock. He did not come in with that in your drainage system renew. He didn't come in for bean damage, I don't believe, or crop loss. No, just drilling, I believe, is all he came in with. Seeding. So that's what the board's gonna have to decide what to go with on that. Whether it's, like, just say for Tom, 2.08 acres at 60 bushel per acre, 10.50 per bushel.
I mean, I was just guessing at the acres and he's got the survey crew, so.
What was Schwartz Rocks? How many acres?
Sword tracks, it shows on the report, this is on that, in case you're looking at the report, it's page 5 of the DD3 PDF that was in your packet.
The new info here,
Nope, the other one.
okay.
That one is the one that was provided at the meeting 2 weeks or
Okay,
whatever,
all
3
right,
weeks ago.
I'll pull it up now.
Yeah, but it's in this agenda packet. So Swartrock says 0.36 acres for beans. So, and at the $60 per bushel, his is just $226.80. And then John and Michelle Rosiska have beans 0.91 acres, they've got 573.3 per beans. You see where I'm at?
Not yet, I'm,
Pages 5 and 4 and 5
okay.
are on the
Of 19.
DD3.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then we have Murray Farms also.
That's a book.
No, that's buffer. That's buffer.
Well, that seems fair, 60 bushel an acre, 1050, you got it, how about the baseline? Nothing wrong with that. Remember, trustees, you would, okay with that? Yeah. Just figured out how many acres you got.
That'll walk. Started on it. I don't do too much here.
It doesn't work.
That's. That's, I mean, when you're figuring out what you're gonna pay for claims, you'll need to decide what,
So the difference in Ranford is $200. Difference.
well, depends on if, Tom had figured $1,500 for 1.5 acres.
I was guessing at the age.
Yeah. Tyler's saying it's 2.08 acres, so if you're using Tom's rate, or if you're using Tyler's rate, $60 a bushel or whatever Tom's comes up to per bird bushel.
It's 60 bushels an acre.
That
And,
might be a little light this
$10 and
year.
a half dollars a bushel. But let's just suggest we'll take Taylor's rate and, instead of individual ones, then we'll treat everyone the same.
Yes,
So let's do that. Let's just establish the 60 bushel an acre, $10 and a half dollars. And,
Times
that was an estimate on the acres, so let's just reduce it to what it actually was. That's simple. You're not gonna worry about that every time? No,
No, I'd rather have
good.
my.
We're moving along here.
Okay, we're settled on that then?
Yeah. So that's on the beans.
Right.
Didn't have any corn.
Good enough. And the other one was for, Rockland Enterprises, where's
Yeah.
Hartsville?
well, Rockland's, you've got in your new file, the DD3 new, that's where you've got. So I don't think what those others have the seeding and stuff is what the other stuff is.
Okay,
And that's not your buffer thing, is it? That's not your buffer.
For the grass seeding.
It does.
Right, the buffer and CRP is considered together. If landowners submitted other claims, receipts, I know that there were some that were getting actual, quotes
Yes.
from seeding contractors. Those are gonna be far more accurate than what my estimates have been. So in lieu of my estimates, those actual claims could be utilized.
that makes a lot of sense. And it's a lot simpler, so,
So not everybody on Tyler's list had requested.
a private company to do an invoice.
Right,
So let's just, in that case, then they get the estimate that Tyler's come up with, and the people that, did an invoice get, that more accurate, invoice for what it costs to repair that. I think it's about the only way you can do it.
That would be my recommendation.
so it's actually gonna give you a little bit more. because Tyler's recommendations for grass was
Higher than what I submitted.
$300. Just for the seed, or for the whole thing, for 300 per acre?
Right,
And you had the 200 per acre plus the 17 for the cost, getting the ground ready and the 1440 for
To
the,
me, that's up to you, but it only cost me $200 an acre, so I would just assume you pay the invoice rather than that more expensive way, but
and
well, you
that,
gotta be congruent on the whole district, that's up to you guys.
well, and as I understood the recommendation, it was if you submitted a claim, they would pay off that claim.
Yeah.
Which would be whatever it was, if it
Right.
was less expensive, so be it.
Right.
Else, it would be at the recommended rate, and then that could be, that would all be figured out based on who had submitted claims and who hadn't. Essentially, but I think that keeps consistent, while still having consideration for damages along the affected area.
I want to get paid more than what it cost me.
That's good.
so then if they did submit something to the board,
Sure.
they don't automatically get here. So like, for example, I'm just gonna go with, David McCartney, you submitted for 10 acres.
No. McGregor.
See, was that? When,
Dave McCartney owns it farther west. David McGregor submitted the claim.
okay, on Tyler's list, we have David McCartney.
Well, that could be one of them too.
And so if there was nothing submitted, we're not paying anything? Is that what we're saying?
No, what my recommendation would be is that these be considered and adopted for the damages and paid. And they be adjusted based on the claims that were received.
Okay.
So everyone on the list still receives a damage payment, whether it's from the recommendation or from the claim that they submitted. It would be an acceptance and consideration of the damages as altered by the claims submitted.
Okay, so we have $200 an acre for the seeding, for Hillegas to do seeding. And then Jeff, I believe you contacted you researched the ISU labor rates, which was 17.75 or something like that for cultivating, per acre. And 1440, I believe, for debris removal. So that's less than what you're talking about. So but like Tom submitted more, than
I submitted
What?
$300.
you had, for seeding, you had the 200 an acre. For your acre and a half, so $300, but then you had, for the cultivating work, that was, $200 or $100 for that, I think. I'm finding it here.
$100, I think.
$100 for that,
And then we got,
which
Pick up.
is 66.67 per acre compared to what Dave and Jeff presented at 17 something an acre. And debris removal, you put $200, which is $133 per acre that Jeff.
that's
Dave
picking
presented
up garbage,
14.23.
sticks, cultivator sweeps, shakes, already found one of them.
I just think those numbers seem low, the 17 and the 14 maybe seem low, but Tom's maybe seem high,
Here,
so I don't
take
know. What you wanna do.
I just wanted to get it done and do it right, so.
I know, appreciate it. But Tom shouldn't, what I'm saying is Tom shouldn't get more than Dave and,
And that I also agree with. If you wanted to, I think then you need to go claim by claim or set a blanket amount for that seeding for the grass that does apply to everyone.
so you got the 300 per acre. So. whether
Some
it's
were,
300
some
per
claims
acre-
were less than that, some were more than that.
use ISU's recommended rates?
Let's let the county do it. Then I think you should, let's let the county do it, you know. Maybe you just wanna be benevolent, Tom, and maybe you just wanna be benevolent and we'll go with ISU rates, so we get this. No, they got immigrants working for them. One.
So if you take the seeding and the two ISU rates, you'd have two
Nobody's
hundred
gonna
and
do it
thirty-two dollars and
$14
fifteen cents
an
per
acre.
acre. So do you wanna go somewhere in between Tyler's $300 and the $232 per acre, or?
Started, I haven't got it. You ever think about that?
Who's gonna be in charge of spraying?
So, yes, can I just say one thing? So.
Sure, you know
This
what
has
it's
to
gonna be.
set a little bit of a precedence going forward, because there'll have to be some maintenance going forward. And I know in our lower mile that I own, that, of course, that work was done earlier, of course, the ragweeds were 10 foot tall, so we mowed all those down. I'm gonna have a lot of weed pressure on that lower mile that it's gotta be controlled in some such way, so if that needs to be sprayed, whether I do it or we hire somebody as a district to do the whole drainage district, just to control whether it's volunteer trees, fatlings, or large ragweed or
Well,
broadleaf.
we talked about that at an earlier meeting and getting a service to do that, and they didn't recommend, what was it? Only
Wait 2 years.
wait 2 or 3 years, and then spray.
No, it's gotta be sprayed the 1st of June, the 1st of September for 2 years, to get the ragweed out of there.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing, it's on mine, and I'm gonna spray, I don't care.
Right.
It gets paid for now, but it's gotta be done, because you let that go, I mean, it was terrible this year, and I tried to mow 12 foot tall ragweeds, and that's a mess, so I can't let that happen again.
I think what they were talking about 2 to 3 years was for the saplings, tree saplings.
Certainly,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, and that, we have opened up a very old seed bed. Those trees have been dropping seeds for years and years. When I've talked to the sprayers, I do agree to keep the ragweed and all that down. That will require maintenance immediately. The trees, that's what I've heard recommended. You wait just a little bit so that they actually have something to catch what you're spraying them with. By weeds or by the leaves and everything that they have. But that I don't think, alleviates what that weed pressure is gonna be until we get the grasses reestablished.
So going forward, if I do spray weeds, am I supposed to submit a bill to the district for the control of those weeds, or for the chemical or the spray or whatever?
No,
No,
I think the district needs to do the whole thing.
Oh,
If you wanna
okay.
spray, it's up to you.
I mean, and I agree with you.
If you wanna spray, that's great, I mean,
Right.
they ain't gonna catch them all.
Right,
But as a district, I think the district needs to spray it all, because you're gonna spray
Right.
it, he ain't gonna do it,
Right.
this guy over here ain't gonna do it.
yeah.
So
Come and spray the whole drainage ditch and just
just
install
spray the
that.
whole damn thing, and all we're spraying is the top, on the inside of the wall, not the outside.
Right, right.
There are exceptions to what we're talking about here. We've just seeded a portion that David McCartney owns, and we put on a combination of grasses and pollinator, and so we don't want anybody spraying that.
Yeah.
We want that to be our own responsibility. And just for the people that own land here too. We were able to get our seeding done. And we applied for grants and we got it all paid for.
That's on the outside of the room, right?
Yeah, I'm talking,
Not the top.
isn't that what we're talking about here? But now, the inside of the berm, if that's what we're talking about, then yes, you know. We're gonna have to drive along the height of our berm and somebody or
Hang out over towards.
but I agree with Jeff, we should at least have a plan in place.
Get drones to go in there and spray it. I'm just, it's an option. I don't know.
Not a bad idea, to be honest with you, because you wonder how that should get done.
Then there's no driving on top of a ditch or anything else, and it's just,
But is it fair to have, I think maybe it is, to have the district do the inside slopes? Yeah,
they're supposed to do the top too.
Well, in his case, he doesn't want the top done because he has a pollinator.
I'm saying the edge of the, tight of the berm down, not anything up the
But
top.
according to what Tyler says, the district is in charge of the top and the inside of the ditch. The farmer is just to the outside of
Oh,
the
really?
top.
Well, it's the top of the berm. So, I mean, if it's rounded, you'd have a bit of that top that would be considered side slope, but it's not the actual shelf. The shelf is the landowners. That's the full beneficial use.
That's my assumption.
Right, for the sake of the district's responsibility, it is that slope. And nothing else.
Okay.
So that's all, that is certainly things I recommend considering. We've spent a considerable amount of money to get the district facility back to how it should be. The amount of money spent to preserve that is going to be far less, but return so much more. So I agree with all of the sentiment of the spraying and everything that way. Regarding the decisions today, we're talking seeding amounts. I don't think it's good discussion and it can't stop here, but I don't think we're set to make those decisions on a seeding program today.
We don't have any bid on when to do it.
What's that?
We don't have a bid from anyone to do
Well,
it.
right, yeah.
Therefore, we really don't have anything to act on.
Right,
Doesn't mean that the future board of trustees could assume that responsibility and probably needs to be done.
But it is concerning though on the slope side, if the property owner is using that for some purpose, you could have somebody killing anything.
well, they wouldn't have on the slope side, the district side, they don't have beneficial use of that. It's only the spoil banks that they have the full beneficial use of. And anybody that is causing damage to those side slopes can be held accountable for that. I've seen that done. Guys hanging over the edge and spraying and killing the grasses and stuff on there, not good, can't have it. So, that's a hypothetical. But it is things to keep an eye out for.
So if the farmers seed that top up there, if we're supposed to spray the inside, they better just put grass up there, because when they spray that inside, there's gonna be a little drift.
Yeah.
That's gonna go on that top.
And
It's pretty hard to control.
right, and the district can't be then responsible for, if somebody wants to be planted that close to the edge, I wouldn't support any sort of damages in the event that the spraying work got done and damaged that. Because you're right, it needs to be done responsibly so that the district still has access to its facilities.
So another question, this Larson's coming back, and we gotta pay a mobilization fee for him?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
No, that is all still, assumed under the first mobilization.
So do we pay them their last 36,000, or do we wait till they get it done and then pay them then? So we hold their 10% because they're not done.
Because these items are what I consider extras, additionals, things that they would have been paid for had they done them while they were here. I don't think that it's right to hold that 10% on the rest of the work that had been completed. To get this work done, especially when they've committed to coming back and doing it. Essentially, if they want paid for these items, they'll need to come back and do it. But the amount, we haven't paid them for things that they didn't do. And therefore, that 10% that we've held isn't any amount that's to entice them to do something they haven't done, right? That's,
It's already something that they've done.
we've only ever paid them for things that they have done.
Right.
We only paid them for the tile extensions they did, we have logs of all of that. The cleaning that they did, all of that's all done. That we paid them for, or we wouldn't have paid them.
Right.
So that's what that 10% is. We guaranteed that work got done with that 10%. These extras, yes, they'll have invoices at their unit prices for that work. But we're not, I think it's unjust to hold additional money to have them come back for extras that.
Weren't in the contract.
Right.
The retainage is only with the original contract, so this is work outside of that contract. So the change should be released as well.
So is there anything else, like some of you have, like, David, are all of your things addressed? Do you think? And Erwin, is everything you have addressed? And do you feel like everything with Wolf's is addressed?
I do, I have a going list and I will add these to it. And it's going to be on my way home, I plan to call the foreman, let him know these things and get copies of all of this off to them to get addressed. Again, I believe everyone's hope is by the end of the year, yeah. So there's gonna be no delay, there's gonna be no sort of action. I don't even see, beyond that much involvement that I'm going to even have to do. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory stuff, right? Animal guards and rip-wrap in areas, I've already discussed that with the contractor, he already knows. So that's, it's not nothing. If it was nothing, I wouldn't be directing them to do it, but it's pretty standard, pretty typical closeout things that Larson is more than capable of getting taken care of.
Tyler, I had missed the beginning of this when I came down. Did you guys have any work in the 175th area where we need to move those pipes out? Or is that gonna be the only work that needs to be done?
That's the only thing in that area
So
that,
we won't, if we get in there, we won't be in your guys' way.
no,
Okay.
no, and they cleaned to those, they cleaned right up to the ends of those culverts.
Perfect.
So it's drop them and we're good.
Okay.
The only other thing I think on 175th was trees again by the railroad.
Right, and that's been submitted to them. Right,
To the railroad.
yeah, essentially the fix-it ticket has been submitted to the railroad from the board of supervisors, demanding that they clean up their right of way.
And from you.
Right, yeah,
Go there.
and that's, we'll stay on them, and I've never seen that not work.
I guess I have one other general question. It's not one that we can just fix right away. But, I'm trying to think ahead, and we've done a lot of changing in this ditch. And there's going to be unintended consequences that we don't even know for sure what they are yet, other than maybe these areas with more riprap or something. So as we look forward, the trust, if we have issues as landowners, how do we, is there a procedure in place that we all will be treated equally, that we can appeal to the trustees or ask that they respond? I mean, how is it done?
If there's an issue on any of these drainage facilities, the fastest and in some cases, the only way the trustees ever know about it is that the landowners bring that to their attention. That is more often done with a petition for repairs that's filled out at the auditor's office. You go there, they have a form, you fill it out, you address that issue, it goes to the trustees for their action. They review it and Sometimes those go to secondary roads.
Yeah.
To get
Usually
addressed?
usually it's they report it to secondary.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, then any issues moving forward need to get to the secondary roads. About as, with quite a bit of urgency. To keep things fixed and in good repair. The last thing we wanna do is go another 70 years and not have the basic maintenance done, right? I say we as in the royal we, it's not gonna, any small things they don't require. I mean, any repairs under $50,000 don't have to have a hearing. That's work that can just get done. Starting the first of next year, any project that's under $206,000 doesn't require an engineer's report. You still need to have the hearing, you still need to bring the district together if you spend more than $50,000 to let people know they'll be getting an assessment, but that's the new threshold that's gonna be set, so that is the problem.
Well, have all claims for crop damages been approved and considered then? We're at that point.
You just need to, you're at that rate for the buffer. I think you agreed to use Tyler's numbers for the crop damage.
Yeah.
But for the buffer part, you want somewhere between the 232 and the 300. That's on this report.
That's for seeding.
Proceeding and, yeah, the debris removal and.
We have a discrepancy between. Tom, you had 300? Huh? Is that right for seeding, 300?
Pounds would have been 200 an acre for seeding and $133 for, this was higher per acre. It was $133 per acre for debris and $67 per acre for cultivation, $200 an acre for,
So he's closer to 400.
yeah.
So how are you gonna do that when Erwin's already got his all done? And he got his all paid for.
They're gonna bill.
Yeah, we have no bill.
He's a seven bill.
Yeah.
Is that, David's, or is that?
They just said,
David's?
get a quote or get a contractor to do the work and then they can just reimburse that. Why does it have to have a set rate?
So in David McCarthy's, that would have been, at $300, it would have been
What can you say?
$1,332.
Without it, without it, you don't get.
Or 4.440.
Didn't say
$300.
that they had to, can trustees hire someone to do it? I would say that's really damage. Right.
He could table it till next now.
Then if somebody else wanted to cover it, because that's the problem.
No, thank you.
The difference with the number.
You need this.
You don't have
Could do it after the first of the year then.
I've never seen an actual vote lower than what.
That's what I was talking about, up to the top of the hill, right? I mean,
Now they're talking about the side to the house.
yeah,
If
but
not-
not, we'll take care of
The inside.
the inside. So, like Irwin, I mean, you've done prairie grasses, flowers, I mean, government CRP type thing or that, so you're getting paid for that,
Well,
right?
I have a clever daughter that applied for grants to have
Yeah.
someone come up with the money, so we're saving the district. Somebody's here.
Bless your heart.
You save the district, but you're gonna pay for everybody else's.
They just took what they wanted. I don't have any ditch, I'm still paying.
Right.
We gotta compromise here and get this done.
Cut these down. I wasn't on the tackle those.
What's the discrepancy between towns?
What's
the dollar?
About $70 a week.
Well.
On 2 acres?
Uh, Yeah, it's, that's $232.15, using what Dave and Jeff used. Tom's is $400.
So it's on $200,
$107.
$170.
And Tyler's recommendation was $300.
Just have everybody see their own, and you don't have to worry about it.
Just use $300 an acre, just go across the board maybe and
Would you say 200?
300 was.
300?
with what Tyler.
300 across the board?
I'm okay with that. Sure. Yeah, we're not talking thousands of acres.
No,
No, for beans and damages, it's a $14,470.
Yes.
Can we pay everybody
Need a
on this?
motion that-
Do we pay everybody on this list, or do we take off McCarthy's on this
I-
list?
I think we pay everybody on the list.
I'm okay, well, do people have an opportunity to bring their cases later? I mean, have we heard from everyone that thinks they have crop damage, or,
Today's the day and time for that.
Today.
That's what they got the notice.
Now,
okay,
that was
Yeah,
sent
then
out
I'll
in
go with
letters
everybody on
to
the
all
list.
landowners.
Everyone on that list was notified.
yeah, okay.
So I need a motion then to do that.
Well, you've got to close your.
Or how do we,
Yeah, actually, at that point in time, we do need a motion to close the hearing and we consider item 11 at that time following the closing of the hearing. That takes a motion and a second and a vote.
I make that motion.
One second,
All right, a motion has been made by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Kiefer to close the hearing on Drainage District 3 main open ditch repair project. Those in favor say aye. 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 The hearing is closed. Taking up item 11, review and action regarding Drainage District 3 ditch repair project. A, acceptance of the work of, I think we can take care of this in one motion.
Yeah.
Reviewing, we've already accepted the work, that's what Tyler showed us on the work and the completion of the project. We don't need a separate motion for that. I believe. We've considered item B.
He does want you to have a motion to accept the word, and then pay, claim the damages for this is what you ended up with, pay the
Right.
damages for completion report. You could maybe put all that maybe. I suppose you could do it all if you want to do the payoff on one, and I don't know if you're ready to do the assessment. You could probably do, you're ready to
Okay, we
do
do
that.
all
Do the assessment, it's separate.
I'll make a deal with this.
Okay.
Amount and spread, what are we talking there? On D, what do you?
So that's where we bill the landowners
Oh,
for the total project.
Okay.
Yeah. And Tyler's gonna give us.
yeah, we can, should we be able to do this all in one?
I would do the assessment separate,
Okay,
we haven't had that conversation with Tyler yet.
so A, B, and C, we're looking at.
we can do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll
Go ahead.
make the motion that we accept the work and completion of the project. And B, the claims for the damages, we talked about that. And payment to the landowners and then payment retains 30 days of after acceptance of work we've done. That's a given, right?
I'm just gonna like pay the the claims per the schedule and the completion report.
Yeah.
Okay with that?
Yeah.
And then, did you say that or not?
To
Pay app,
pay that,
Tyler dropped this off, so the pay app is, the retainage is 36,857.12.
yes.
I'll second that motion.
All right, I'll repeat that, please.
Campbell Kiefer moved to accept the work for the completion of the Drainage District Number 3 open ditch project, to pay the claims per the completion schedule, for that, for damages and for the completion schedule, for the completion schedule, and to pay the pay app for, pay app numbers 13, final pay app of 36,857.12. You don't, I don't like that.
All right, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there further discussion? Any comment from anyone listening on the phone? All right, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Now we're on item D of 11, which is the assessment. What is the total amount spread and waiver recommendation?
I should ask, do you want a motion for to direct Tyler to do the additional work?
Yes, we certainly get. Directing Larson to do the work, yes.
Right.
All right, and there's a fair amount of it, so when we're talking about as discussed, are we list it all out?
So animal guards in Drainage District 3 open ditch area.
So it would be animal guards, the replacement of, tile extensions that have since been found. Placement of additional riprap in discussed curve and, washout areas. And the, removal of sedimentation, near the railroad outside of the right of way. Those are the bulk items that I have noted and in the punch list items.
that's all I can think of, right? Yeah. All I can think of.
That's good.
So, need a motion,
Yes.
I make that motion.
A second.
All right, a motion's been made by Supervisor Campbell and seconded by Kiefer, to approve a punch list of items as just discussed, in its entirety to be approved by Larson Contracting before the completion of the project. Stated correctly? Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye, motion is carried. All right, we're on item 11D, the assessment of the amount, the spread, and the waiver.
Okay, so you've already done assessments on the reclassification and the annexation. So what's left is cost for Larson Contracting, Bolton and Maine. And I don't think there's anything else, but I don't know what your costs might be yet, or,
Would be just my time here today, essentially. And that, had you had a chance to figure out, because everything's been used with warrants, correct?
oh,
So you have what the interest on all of that is for, calculated for what your assessment?
I'd have to check with the treasurer.
Okay. Yeah, cause I guess I don't have a figured up amount for what that assessment would be.
Okay.
I don't have the warrant information.
Okay. So maybe we're not ready on that part yet.
You may need a week to get that.
So if we get
amount.
those, we get that information. What, your predecessor, Kent, used to do is he would provide us with a buffer amount also to keep in the fund. Will you be doing that? That would
Yeah,
cover-
and that's, yes, I will do that. Just what I'll need is the list of the warrants for the amounts and the dates they were issued. And if you plan to assess next week, that's when the interest on those would, landowners have the ability to spread that over time, but those warrants had accrued interest to at least the levy date.
Correct.
So we would calculate that and add what that small buffer would be to keep the account open.
Okay, and maybe even a buffer to allow for some spraying.
Yeah, we could, yeah, and if that's something that is certainly going to be pursued, I could add a conservative amount for that as well.
Okay. So before I forget, I should have done this earlier. Tyler, you're sitting next to Morgan Miller, who is our auditor-elect.
Oh,
And starting.
nice to meet you.
I don't know if anybody else has met Morgan yet, but, so after January 2nd, she'll be or starting January 2nd, she'll be the one we'll be working with, although I'll be sitting on that side, but, just wanted to introduce.
Thank you very much. My hope is to have, like I said, all of this done by that. Nice to put it into a face regardless.
I did have one landowner who preferred that this assessment got done yet this year. So that would be the goal, to do this on the 23rd in our office to get them mailed out before December 31st. So that's.
And it's not anything I have a form that all goes in, it calcs all the interest on it and just gets turned back around. It's not, just without the amounts and the dates, I don't know what it would be, so.
So we just table this.
They want to tell them.
Okay.
We'll look forward to looking up at our next meeting. All right. Thanks for all your input, all your concerns throughout the process. I think we had a successful project and we'll get it finished appropriately with some changes.
And let's structure them.
Thank you. You're moving to item 17, which is future agenda.
No, it's where the road starts to curve.
I travel regularly from, Florida Lake to.
It's.
And I go past almost every day. So I talked to Jason today, and he'd like to be on our meeting next week.
Yeah, and it's something
Exactly, well, finished completion, and we're doing lots of things
plugging
out there, but, very soon we'll be looking at that, so. He's gonna come next week and give us an update on the communication.
Yeah, anytime you have an issue, we should try to take it. That's part of it, the way we do those, anything that's under 4 feet, so. They're not on our federal list of structures, so they don't get inspected. And the first summer, we actually went down and inspected everything, we never listed. And that was 20 December 21st, we actually. After that, this summer, kind of every 3 years type of thing, but I'm sure it's gonna be before that. So, yeah, those ones seem to, unless we get a report, we don't need it. Oh, yeah.
So I could over that. My name is Owen Johnson. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, last week when we briefly discussed,
Appreciated the work.
future agenda, we were talking about the board of supervisors making a meeting regarding the vote on the EMS tax levy. And, T-Star got back to me, and, the city would not have any representations available for such a meeting, prior to the end of the year. He's suggesting, because of their move into the city hall, lots of things going on with, that. other commitments during the holidays, that, they won't be able to attend a meeting to review the vote until sometime in late January. So, I'm hoping that everybody who received the questionnaire from Brandy Mahler filled that out and sent that back in. And that'll be a responsibility of the next board to convene and all that and conduct that meeting. Okay. Just don't have time to do it right now.
I just have it for this, in my papers. I just have a lot of things, the CMR jail fees for ambulance services, that we put on the agenda. I see I'm gonna negotiate some rates right now. And then board of supervisor appointments for January, just getting, organizational meeting plan and stuff. Everything else.
Do I,
Yeah, you have something
what's the date?
for next meeting?
Monday? No, I don't have anything.
Well, yeah, the next meeting is Friday at 9 AM in the Sarasota County Courthouse. We're meeting jointly with the, actually, I kind of touched about it in the, you know, what we've been doing, updates on various boards and committees.
Oh.
So, we're meeting with their board to discuss the sheriff employment of Brian Bowen, their county engineer. This Friday at 9 AM.
The 20th.
In Mason City. That's
Right, at
where-
the Sarasota County State. Well, you got other meetings going on. Wednesday night, there's a meeting of the, compensation board. I believe, as far as our 170th anniversary celebration is, this Wednesday as well. All right, anything else?
What time does that start?
11 till 2.
11 till 2.
Anything else? To give you our-
I gotta go to the NIRA meeting. City. Anybody know exactly where that is?
Which one?
NIRA.
Regional.
Yeah. They said if I look at the police department,
Yeah.
is it in the back, east, west?
I can show you.
Okay,
I've been there before.
okay. Make it easier.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
Been moved, by Supervisor Kiefer, and seconded by Campbell to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
all right.
We are adjourned.
The anniversary. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
How did I get that wrong? My God.
Just put that around the-
Yeah.
You need to put it in.
No, I'm just trying to be great.
Oh, sorry. It might, here.